Man, this stuff is dark. What's up, everyone? I'm Jason C, and today on the Mash and Drum, it's one of my favorite releases of the year. Yes, it's Buffalo Trace. Yeah, it's Colonel Taylor. Yeah, it's allocated and probably jacked up in price at liquor stores and other assholes in the secondary market. But with that said, for any of you out there that have the chance to buy Colonel E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof at a decent price, every year, this bottle brings a lot to the table. Let's see if the Colonel E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof for 2020 is still worthy of the chase on the Mash and Drum. So Colonel E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof Bourbon from Buffalo Trace is made from their low rye mash bill number 1, which is less than 10% rye, and it's supposedly about 6 to 8 years old, which basically makes it a barrel proof version of this, which is just their straight up Buffalo Trace that a lot of people know and love for a budget bourbon offering. It's also the same mash bill as Stagg Jr. and George T. Stagg. Of course, they're all different ages and offer different drinking experiences based on that age and where they are aged in the Buffalo Trace warehouses, though the relationship between George T. Stagg and Colonel E.H. Taylor go way beyond a mash bill. So back in 1869, Colonel Edmund Haynes Taylor bought the Old Fire Copper Distillery to make his own bourbon, and 9 years later, George T. Stagg bought that same distillery. Taylor went on to be a key figure in the Bottled and Bond Act of 1897 before his namesake bourbon found its way back home, being distilled at the former OFC, former George T. Stagg, and now Buffalo Trace Distillery. Alright, so the 2020 Colonel Taylor Barrel Proof comes in at 130.3 proof. It's non-chill filtered. As I mentioned, these are around 6 to 8 years old. Sports the Buffalo Trace Mashbill 1 and retails for about $70. I know probably some of you just chuckled a little bit. I know, I get it. It's still Buffalo Trace because most folks won't find it for that price, unfortunately. But it's, it's fun to think about. Alright, so I want to thank my buddy Dan Risto for sending me this bottle in order to get a review out there. Thank you so much, Dan. Appreciate it. So I took a big swig of it last night, and then I wanted to get it past the shoulder, get a little bit of air in it. Obviously, I couldn't drink much more than that because it's not my bottle, but I've been letting this sit in the glass for a good 10-15 minutes. So let's see how it is. Let's go to the nose first, guys. This is your very typical Buffalo Trace sweetness. This is all apples and cinnamon to me. This reminds me a lot of the Colonel Taylor Barrel Proof from 2018, which I felt was like, a warm apple pie. Getting the same here. There's definitely an alcohol punch there. Try to whip this in the glass here a little bit. Oh, there we go. Alright, so now the richer caramels, you definitely get a nice cherry note coming through here. Man, this is cinnamon dusted pecans. Yeah, definitely some bread dough, but like deep fried. If you could deep fry an apple pie, I think that's what it smells like in this glass. Dust some powdered sugar on there, like an apple fritter. There it is, apple fritter. I think I've had one of those at fairs, right? They have those apple fritters. It's like a deep fried dough. They got some chunks of apple in there, and then they put some vanilla icing on top. That's what I'm getting in the glass. Apple fritter. Nailed it. Apple fritter. Now I really want an apple fritter. I gotta stop saying that. Sorry. So this is kind of a typical nose you get with Buffalo Trace and the Colonel Taylor barrel proofs. It's not overly complex. Remember, it's kind of in that, like I said, that 6 to 8 years old range. All that Buffalo Trace sweetness is there in spades because it is barrel proof. It's non-chill filtered. So you get all those flavors, all those esters coming out of the bourbon itself. So let's go for a sip and see how it is. Cheers. Whoa. Whoa, that came in hot. Man, 130.3 proof. I felt every bit of that. That one came in hot. Oh my goodness. And there's the sweetness. Once you get past the initial punch in the mouth, yeah, all the sweetness is there. Again, more of the apple, more of the cinnamon, more of the toasted pecans are there. All right, let's go for another sip. So the second sip, so after your palate gets punched in the face with that 130.3 proof, now it's more of a caramel apple type flavor on the palate. I mean, yeah, you could still say apple fritter, but yeah, so it really tingles on the front of the palate. You get some spice there, some baking spices, the cinnamon, maybe a little dusting of some like cayenne pepper from the heat, but it's more of a spicy heat, not just pure alcohol heat. Then as it works its way back, yeah, here comes the boom. Here comes the caramel apple, the apple fritter, the vanilla frosting. That like caramel sauce type aspect I was getting with it. You know, put some toasted pecans on there. Yeah, vanilla ice cream. Very, very sweet. But also very flavorful, and it lingers on. 130.3 proof. So this is one of those bourbons from Buffalo Trace I really covet just because it's got a really nice finish on it. When you talk about Eagle Rare, Buffalo Trace, even Blanton's, some of the other lower proof offerings that people love, you know, all the Wellers, well, probably all of them except for 107 and full proof. They don't offer much of a finish. There's a lot of flavor going on in the front, but it just goes away very quickly, which I think why a lot of people love Buffalo Trace. There's just really no burn on a lot of the stuff. It's all sweet, it's all candy. If you like a long finish, if you like a little bit more depth from something from Buffalo Trace, then that is why I, love this bottle and I try to seek one out. Let's go for one last sip. The more your palate acclimates to this, the more candy it gets, but it still gives you a nice spicy finish. So up front, just all this this tingling of, like I said, the black pepper or the cayenne pepper mixed with the vanilla frosting. Then as it works its way back, boom, here comes apple, cinnamon, fried dough, the apple fritter one I was getting. Throw some cherry in there, little caramel apple. Then as it works its way back, you get all the beautiful baking spices. There's definitely some cinnamon back there, a little bit of nutmeg too. It lingers. Man, it's so good. It's like Buffalo Trace with a really good finish. That is, I think, is worth chasing. When you talk, like I said, when you talk about some of those other offerings that are just kind of a low proof, not much going on, the back end is just all sweet. Yeah, I could see why people like those, but if you want something with a nice long finish from Buffalo Trace with a ton of flavor, yeah, you're gonna want to try to hunt one of these out. Alright guys, so what I want to do real quick is compare this to Elijah Craig Barrel Proof B520, because these are two of my favorite barrel proof expressions that release each year. This one is definitely more accessible than the Colonel Taylor. For some people, even this has gotten hard to find, but at least because it comes out 3 times a year, you have 3 times a year a shot to maybe grab this one, rather than this one, which comes out 1 time a year and is already heavily allocated and usually jacked up in price. So let's do a quick comparison here. So this being 12 years old, you definitely get more oak presence. You definitely get more of the Heaven Hill nuttiness characteristic that's in there. This is definitely on the sweeter side, but you could definitely smell the age in this glass here. But you know what? The Elijah Craig isn't that far off. I think this specific B520, and the reason why people love it so much, it has a tremendous amount of sweetness. It's not just oak and alcohol. Sometimes you get that oaky bitterness and that harshness with the Elijah Craig Barrel Proof, but this one has that layer of butterscotch and caramel, a little bit of apple in it, that I think kind of goes head to head with this one. All right, let's sip the Elijah Craig. Oh, God, that's a good release. Really is hard to beat. Oh, man, it's still going. The cherry, the chocolate. This one's a little bit more chocolate heavy. Definitely more rye going on, a little bit more citrus, and the like I said, it's like creme brulee and, you know, burnt brown sugars. That's just a hitter of a bourbon. Compare it to the Colonel Taylor for 2020. Remember, Elijah Craig Barrel Proof is 12 years old, so you're just going to have more oak influence on that side of things when it comes to the bourbon. When you compare it to the Barrel Proof, this is just all sweet, all candy, and then it really leaves a nice lingering finish. A little bit alcohol forward, but not enough to turn me off on it. I still think it's absolutely delicious. It's basically a really good Colonel Taylor or a really good Buffalo Trace product with a nice long finish, which is something I don't think enough of their bottles have. So that's why I love this so much. But if you can't find this, this is always, always, always a great alternative, a great pickup. And in a lot of cases, I think sometimes this could even be a little bit more rounded out in flavors, more layered, and a little bit more robust in flavor than the Colonel Taylor, being it's 12 years old. All right, guys, for the final breakdown, Colonel E.H. Taylor retails for $70. Secondary market value, man, I used to see these for $160. Now I'm seeing them at $250 to over $300, which is just stupid. Availability is obviously limited. It's allocated. So $70 for me, I think, value when it comes to if you get it for $70, I actually think it's a little bit above average because I do really like what's in the bottle. You get just a ton of flavor, a nice long finish. I absolutely love this stuff. All right, guys, so people ask me what's the most I would pay for this bourbon. I would not go higher than $200 for this. Even if $200 seems like a lot to some of you out there, I get that. But I just like what this bourbon brings as far as the type of flavor profile I like. But this is like a little bit more on the apple pie, vanilla icing, a little bit of cherry, pecan, and all those flavors that I really love from Buffalo Trace. It's more on that side of things. So for me, I wouldn't pay any more than $200 for it. So I will say buyer beware when it comes to some of the secondary market assholes that will put some of the older bottlings of this up for sale, like a batch 1, a batch 2, a batch 3 for upwards of $400, $500, $600. This is not that old. Colonel Taylor, if my memory serves me right, debuted in about 2012, 2013-ish, 7, 8 years ago. Come on. It's not that I was lucky enough to try a Colonel Taylor batch 2, and it's not that far off from what I'm sipping right now. It's usually pretty similar, so don't let some asshole in secondary that thinks they know what the value of a certain bottle is sway you into buying something because you think it's a batch 1. It's not going to taste any different. It's not going to taste much different than what's in this bottle. So do I recommend this? Absolutely. I always recommend Colonel Taylor Barrel Proof. It's one of the few Buffalo Trace bottles that I chase each year because it's so flavorful. It's got a long finish. It brings everything that I want in a good Buffalo Trace to the table. Again, the issue is the availability and the allocation and the price increases, and I get all that. Do not pay more than $200 for this bottle. It's good. It's not, more than $200 good, but it's definitely a step above most stuff from Buffalo Trace that you'll ever taste. All right, guys, well, thanks for watching this review of the Colonel E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof 2020. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the subscribe button below. Please hit that like button. If you haven't yet, find me on Instagram, find me on Twitter. Love talking with you guys. Let me know if you've had this yet, what you think of it. What's the most you would pay for a Colonel Taylor Barrel Proof? And like I always say, it's not about the whiskey, it's the people you share with. So cheers, and I'll see you next time on The Mash and Drum. Hope you enjoyed it, guys. Take care.